Hello and welcome to eDiscovery Leaders Live, hosted by ACEDS and sponsored by Reveal. I am George Sosha, Senior Vice President, Brand Awareness at Reveal. Each Friday morning at 11 Eastern, I host an episode of eDiscovery Leaders Live, where I get the chance to chat with luminaries in eDiscovery and related areas. Past episodes of eDiscovery Leaders Live are available on the Reveal website. Go to revealdata.com, select resources, and then select eDiscovery Leaders Live Cast. This week, I'm pleased to welcome as our guest, Rich Robinson. Rich is the Director, Legal Operations and Litigation Support at Toyota North America. And before I let Rich talk, I'm going to give a little bit of a background about him. Rich, as I said, is Director, Legal Operations and Litigation Support at Toyota. He has a well-grounded and well-rounded background in eDiscovery. He has spent time at, I think, 5 different law firms as an for example, applications analyst at Mintz Levin, litigation technology analyst at Adler, Pollack, and Sheehan, director of litigation technology at Graves, Dougherty, Heron, and Moody. At Jackson Walker, he was a senior electronic discovery specialist, and then, and I always have trouble with pronouncing this name properly. Correct me if I get it wrong, Rich. Gardier.
Yeah, that's right.
Gardier Wynn Sewell, where he was practice support manager. Rich not only has a background with law firms, but also has been on the provider side. He was an eDiscovery consultant at Exact Data Discovery, and this is not his first gig in-house either. Rich has been in-house for 12 years, is it?
10 years.
10 years. 10 years. First at J.C. Penney, where he was eDiscovery and information manager, and now, as I mentioned before, at Toyota. Rich is active in other ways in the eDiscovery industry. He is the president of the Dallas-Fort Worth chapter of ACEDS. He is a founder and board member of eDiscovery, DFW, and he is a regular on the speaking and the lecture circuit, appearing in a variety of places, including as an attendee frequently at the Thursday afternoon Cowan Cafes. Rich, welcome.
Thank you so much, George. It's nice to be here.
One
quick modification. I am the treasurer of the local chapter of ACEDS. We have a great leadership team on the board of ACEDS here, but I'm acting as treasurer.
Thanks for the correction.
Yeah.
So in your time as an in-house role in eDiscovery, you of course have had a range of experience, seen a number of things, seen what works well and what doesn't. Could you start out by telling me what that in-house role involves?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the role of an in-house eDiscovery manager it changes from location to location, right? Corporation to corporation. It really depends on the needs of the law department that you're a part of. So, my role at J.C. Penney for eDiscovery and information management was very different than my role at Toyota for legal operations and eDiscovery or lit support. So I feel like the role changes from corporation to corporation depending on the needs of the department. So eDiscovery professionals, I think, are uniquely situated to work in different aspects of the legal operations sort of wheel, based on the fact that we are natural problem solvers. Probably, it's going on 10 years ago now that I started talking to David Cohen and attending his breakfast series and then his dinner series, and and we have sort of watched the needle move from eDiscovery to information governance to legal operations, and I think that people in this industry, having often come up through IT or through the sort of the paralegal role or the as attorneys, we all have one thing in common, and that's that we are uniquely qualified problem solvers. We look for where the needs are, and we go and address them. So my role at JCPenney was definitely more focused on the information governance side. Records management was part of one of the hats that I wore. I also managed the litigation paralegals at JCPenney. So very different than what you might find in other corporations. Whereas at Toyota, my role is primarily two hats. The one is the eDiscovery and litigation support side. The other is legal technology, helping define, implement, and roll out the legal technology stack for Toyota Motor North America.
So in those roles, I mean, of course, not saying anything you shouldn't be saying specifically about
Right.
Toyota, or for that matter, JCPenney. But in those roles, what have you seen to be, for you and for others as problem solvers, the greatest problems you've had to try to solve?
Yeah, I mean that has shifted through the years too. I think that right now there are buzzwords in the industry, right? Information governance, IG, became a major part of the eDiscovery landscape. Back in 2012 to 2015-ish, partially because we were looking at spend and seeing that there was so much money being spent on the review portion of EDRM that my focus was to let's shift further to the left, right? That's why I became so much more involved in information governance, is because I wanted to shift my focus further to the left on EDRM and say, let's start doing a better job of rot removal, right? Redundant, outdated, and trivial data. I want to get rid of that so that when it comes time to do eDiscovery, we're not sending so much into the review process. So that was a big focus then. And that was bolstered by things that were happening in the industry, not necessarily in the eDiscovery space, but outside of it, in cyber and in privacy, right? So we had a big push in cyber threat awareness, and a big push from GDPR to focus on that IG side, on the left side, so that we got rid of data that might have put us in hot water if we were to have a cyber breach, or if we were to have a DSAR, data subject asset access request from a client or a buyer. So that was 4 to 5 years ago that started happening. Now we're seeing a shift. At probably my biggest issue to deal with is ephemeral data and collaborative platforms, right? Those are the buzzwords right now. Pretty much, I would say maybe 50% of the webinars, panels, virtual meetings that I'm being invited to have something to do with collections from Teams, Slack, etc.
Are there particular challenges when it comes to that?
Oh my gosh, we could do an hour.
We could talk a long time.
Yeah, we could really talk a long time just on that. But I would say that for many years, we have been focused on email as the primary source of communication. Right, most of our litigation focuses on communication, and the primary source of communication that we've relied on for almost 20 years now has been email. Um, Even though text messaging really started picking up in the early 2000s, that has been largely considered a secondary source for many years. Um, we've gotten better about handling it, but it's still, 15, 20 years later, we're still not doing a great job on eDiscovery and review of text messaging. And then suddenly here comes collaborative platforms like Slack and Teams that include um, multiple forms of communication or channels all combined into one platform. So we struggled with how to properly thread text messages. Well, now we've got video, uh, GIFs, and audio, and uh, you know uh, chat messages, but also files and modern attachments, all in the same platform that we're struggling for not just how to collect it, but then how to present it in a way that makes sense, uh, and then clearly how to produce it, because we have an obligation to produce as as documents are kept in the normal course of business. So how do you meet that requirement when it's so difficult to present it in a way that is seen in the normal course of business?
Well, challenges abound. Have
Yes,
you
they
seen
do.
any have you seen any successes in tackling these challenges?
I don't. I have seen. I've seen promise, and that's about the best I can say at this point. I think that, knock on wood, I haven't had to be the guinea pig in figuring this out. In you know Dealing with plaintiffs who are presented documents or presented productions that don't meet the requirements, or that they are not comfortable with. Have I produced everything? Um, I don't want to be the guinea pig on that one, uh, but but I am actively pursuing a number of options, a number of different platforms that are offering ways to collect and review and produce outside of the standard, relativity hosted review platform. So always looking for for new ways to do it. But no, I can't say that I found something that I prefer or would espouse. But I definitely have seen some promise out there.
So you have, as we discussed earlier, spent some time in-house now.
Yeah,
You, of course, have talked with your counterparts in many other organizations, I am sure,
yeah.
about a range of issues. What words of advice do you have for someone in an in-house e-discovery role on how to be most effective?
So that's a great question, George. I think in order to be most effective, you really have to be tapped into what the needs of your organization are. Right? You have to be aware. As an e-discovery professional, generally, we're primarily working with the the litigators, and so having an understanding of what their needs are is a vital part of being effective. Right? You could have the best ESI playbook in the industry, but if you aren't familiar with your litigators, and what their needs are, then you're not getting anywhere. You're not being effective. I've always said that my role is primarily as a linguist, right? So for my 20 years in this industry, and some years prior to joining the legal technology space, my role has always been a linguist. It's probably the skill or talent that I bring to the table that's sort of outside of just the knowledge that I've gained over the years, and that sort of techno-legal lingualism is an important part of how to be an effective e-discovery professional. You've got to understand the technology, you've got to understand the law, and you've got to be able to translate it for the people that you're working with, both on the technology side. Maybe it's on the vendor side, maybe it's software development, maybe it's attorneys, paralegals, etc. There is a wide range of understanding of the language of e-discovery, and so being able to speak confidently to all levels of that understanding is probably the most important skill that I could recommend that e-discovery professionals learn and practice.
Thank you. What about words of advice for folks who are at a law firm and are trying to figure out how to work most effectively with in-house personnel? What should they be trying to do? What should they be avoiding, for that matter?
That is a great question. Well, and one that I hadn't really considered ahead of time. I think that from my time in the law firm, which is probably we're getting to be about half and half, right? I had what I consider my brief walk on the dark side, working with a vendor in the e-discovery space, but that did not last very long, just under a year. But now at this point, I've been about half inside law firms and half in-house. And most of my time in the law firm was spent dealing directly with the litigators, right? With the attorneys in the law firm. And I think that law firms would do well to leverage the skill and expertise that they have in lit support professionals, in bringing them to the table in discussions with in-house when it comes to discovery. Again, there are different levels of expertise, both in the law firm and in-house. So you might be working with in-house counsel that has no formal legal operations or e-discovery staff, right? So leveraging your internal expertise is vitally important in those instances. But even when you've got somebody in-house who is managing e-discovery with the level of experience that maybe I have, I still find it beneficial to, when I'm dealing with outside counsel, to have knowledgeable e-discovery professionals on the call from their end. It's just it smooths the conversation considerably when we can talk shop.
So we have three legs to the stool, or three corners to the triangle, if you will, with the in-house e-discovery personnel, folks from law firms, and of course, people at service providers.
Right.
For them, same question, how should they deal most effectively with in-house personnel?
So my advice to the e-discovery vendor is to consider yourself a partner, right? My preferred model of working with the third-party vendor, with an e-discovery vendor, is that they are an extension of my in-house e-discovery department, right? I want to work with people on a regular basis that understand my pain points, that know my data and the issues that I have with my data, that are willing to work with me on innovation. Right, I want my eDiscovery vendor to innovate with me. Um, maybe it is as simple um, as building uh, data transfer workflows, right? We're going to build some form of eDiscovery workflow that allows me to create a collection to hosting process that flows seamlessly, right? That's a fairly common one. But it might be, I need you to help me develop a dashboard so that I can have better insight into, KPIs and metrics around my data and how we're reviewing it. So, that's probably my best piece of advice for eDiscovery vendors is become an extension of my department, become a partner who builds with me.
Any final thoughts to share with the audience before we bring this to a close?
I did want to make one comment about the industry and about the state of affairs right now under COVID. I am seeing a lot of friends and peers in the industry looking for work. Right, that a lot of people have had the rug pulled out from under them in recent times, and I think that it's important for those who are paying attention and those who are experiencing that to leverage the community. There's a reason why I'm so involved in ACEDS and eDiscovery and other networking organizations. Attending the Cohen Cafe, Ari Kaplan's lunches, and talking to you, George. It's important to get out there and create that network so that when the time comes and you need a little help from your friends, we're out there. I don't think that I've gotten a job in this industry by submitting a resume through the standard process. Really, since I joined, my first law firm job was a friend of mine who worked with me in PC banking. That's how I got into the technology field. Our bank closed. She got a job with a law firm in Boston and said, "You would love working in technology in the legal department. You should come apply for the help desk." So she got me that intro. And ever since then, pretty much every job I've ever applied for has been through a contact that I had recommending that I submit my resume. And that's what I'd like for people to know is that encourage them to leverage the relationships that they've created. And if they are in the field and are not leveraging those relationships, are not in those networking communities, get out there and join them. They are absolutely integral to furthering your career, whether or not it's a pandemic.
Rich, I think that is a very sage advice, well put. And I know I have had similar experiences throughout my career as well. Rich Robinson is a Director of Legal Operations and Litigation Support at Toyota North America. Rich, thank you very much for taking time from your busy day to chat with us today.
Thanks, George. It's always a pleasure talking to you.